Good afternoon and welcome to Knuckleheads of Liberty. Formerly, we were calling ourselves the Libertarian Counterpoint Podcast, but we are now altering the name just a little bit. So we'll continue to make that transition in the coming shows. But we are coming at you today on December 11th, 2020. Still lots of, the election still has a little bit of turmoil. But we will get into some of those topics as we go forward. But let me introduce the panel to you. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in this state of California. And my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So jumping right into the show, it's kind of a lot of craziness has been going on with the elections and COVID and everything else. That's kind of been detracting us from some other issues that are interesting, especially for libertarians. And so we wanted to try and get to a few of those points today. And one of those that often is interesting to libertarians is issues around money and what the state does with respect to what it allows you to use as currency and other limitations on that and how it interferes with currency. Well, one such issue that's kind of interesting right now is in some cities, specifically New York City right now, there are some moves by local politicians to force merchants to accept certain types of, to accept merchants to accept cash. There's some merchants nowadays with all of the COVID and other things going around have been moving towards cashless forms of payment. Some of that might be safety related. They don't want to handle the money. Maybe it's maybe they want to avoid robbery from who knows, a peaceful protester or something. I don't know, but
mostly peaceful now.
Mostly peaceful, yes.
Yeah.
Mostly peaceful,
yeah, that mostly honest customers. But anyways, yeah. So New York City is requiring merchants to use cash in transactions, or at least to accept cash. So you can still use electronic payments if that's what the customer has, but they're actually forcing you with respect to, if you had a customer who only had cash, you have to be able to accept that. And that's kind of odd for libertarians. We generally tend to like voluntary transactions. So anyways, you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. Can I use gold and silver coins? I guess not.
That's not real money. It doesn't have our U.S. government stamp on it, right?
Is it okay if I've heard I think it's Utah that has a new service now where you can have gold and silver in an account and they will do transactions digitally with a card or I guess other digital methods. And then these will be debited out of your account, which does not have the United States dollar. It has gold and silver in it, so you can do all these transactions in Utah like that. And so, can I do that? Is that okay? Or So we're up against two things here, and I know that the federal law, the Federal Reserve law, that states that, and it's every bill. This note, meaning a debt instrument, which is what it is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So I can just see that, I could go to a restaurant and outside they've got this illegal sign that says that they will not accept this debt instrument, this note as legal tender. They will not accept that in direct violation of the legal tender laws in the United States. And I could go in there and order a meal, and I'd really order like filet mignon with a surf and turf with some big old lob.
Uh-oh. It looked like
I think
we may have
Tim is
lost Tim.
Tim is frozen.
Hmm.
You know, but let me
Tim, we
Tim, are you
seem to be
back?
having some problems with your stream.
Tim, are you back, Tim?
Yeah.
I may be back, but if I went out,
You cut out at lobster. You were about to say lob, and then
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, lobster. Well, that was it. I was just going to say that I'd buy dinner for all my friends, and then at the end of the meal, I would offer to pay in $100 bills, and I'd lay them out. They'd require, maybe the bill was $700, because I brought all my buddies with me, and we all ordered steak and lob and expensive wine and everything. So the bill comes to $700, and I lay out, and I'm going to give them a tip. $100 tip, right? So I'm going to lay out 8 $100 bills, and I'm going to say, I saw the sign about no cash, but these bills say right on them that they are legal tender for all debts, public and private. So, I'm hate to say this. I mean, I can take these back if you don't want them, but I'm offering them as payment, private debt that you and I have between each other. And because I ran that debt up in the last hour and a half while we gorged ourselves on steak and lob. And so you've got to accept it. If you don't want to, I'm sorry, but this is all you're going to get. I don't have any other way of paying. Okay. And so you can still hear me. I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see how quickly the restaurant owner adheres to their self-imposed no cash limitation in a situation like that. And my hunch is that they probably won't, because if I walk out, I can legally walk out. I offered them legal tender for the payment of this debt. And I'm sorry. No, they're not required under federal law to accept the cash. But the cash is being offered, and because it says on it that it has to be accepted as payment, I'm sorry, they're stuck. They're just stuck. And now all this is said because I'm not a big fan of the Federal Reserve. Okay, I'm like your typical libertarian and Austrian economist. So I'm not a fan of that. But, here's the situation, again, where the government gets itself backed into a corner. And then, what's their solution? Well, we'll come up with more and more laws and all that. And I'll tell you what, I'm the first person who loves to pay with my my Apple phone, and I do everything as cashless as I can, and I do it a lot. But on the other hand, here's the situation, and what are they going to do anyway? So what do you think? Is this just a bunch of malarkey or what?
I see this slightly different, okay, because this is nothing but the social justice warriors taking over in the sense that they are bringing about this entitlement, okay. Now it is true, government law, federal law and all that says that the currency that we walk around with is legal tender for all goods and services, public and private. That is true. But we are now saying that a business cannot decide to do suppose a voluntary transaction with you if the person only offer is cash. You are now forcing the business. You are now violating all our liberties in forcing that business to accept the money which they do not want to accept. So you're telling them this is an involuntary transaction. I find that appalling, if you want the honest truth. I don't think we should be forcing businesses to do business with anyone. These are voluntary transactions. And if the business says, look, I don't want cash, then you take your business someplace else. So there must be somebody who will take your cash. If you think cash is the only thing that you can use, if you refuse to use the cashless instruments like a debit card or whatever. So I don't think we should be in any way giving any credence to this, because this is all part of we are entitled to certain things. We are entitled to this. We are entitled to that. The social justice warriors are taking over, and we are having a serious problem here. You know, it's funny, you know, even the Bible tells us that eventually we're going to end up in a cashless society. The Bible, which was written how many hundreds of thousands of years ago, tells us this. And here it is happening. And what is happening? The government is trying to prevent it from happening. Why? For what purpose? When cashless instruments are so widespread and so widely used, I hardly walk around with cash anymore. I spent the last 4.5 days on the road, 4.5 hours away from my home. And I did so many transactions. I didn't use $1. $1. I did not use $1
in cash.
In cash. And I must have spent, God knows, over $1,000. As a matter of fact, I bought the iPad. I just told you about the iPad, Tim. I bought the iPad because I thought we were going to do the show on Wednesday. I didn't have any of my computers. So I went and I bought an iPad. I ended up spending $700. I should ask you guys back for my money, okay? Because I spent $700 that I didn't plan to spend. Yeah. But I did. I didn't spend $1 of cash. What is the need to force businesses to accept cash? I don't understand this.
Yeah. Well, maybe they shouldn't have come up with this fiat currency with no backing whatsoever, and then force people to accept it by writing on it. I mean, they put that inscription on that cash instrument a long time ago. I mean, this is not new. So they have been trying to force their fiat currency down everyone's throat for so long that everybody's used to it. Oh, the old people, they don't have a credit card and all that, right? It's a good point. But I agree 100% with Leon in that, if a business does not want to accept cash, and there's a heck of a lot of reasons not to, especially today with that dirty cash floating around. By the way, if any of you have any dirty cash that you don't want, you can mail it to me, and I will gladly accept it.
You'll launder it for us for 50 cents on the dollar. Get that nasty COVID off of there.
In fact, I will throw it in the washing machine and make sure there's no more COVID all over it. And I'm going to lay it out on my back porch in the sunlight and let it dry. Yeah.
You'll let it dry with you on the beaches of Tahiti, right?
Well, it depends on how much you guys, how generous everyone is. We'll talk about that trip to Tahiti, but so I agree about the freedom that businesses should do that, but they all should be careful. Now, if I was walking up to a kiosk or a cash register and I had an item and I wanted to buy it and the store did not accept cash, all I had was 20s, I can see where they could go, well, I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to leave that here and take your cash with you because we're not going to, sell that to you. Okay, that's their prerogative, and I agree 100%. However, in that situation where they extend credit to someone, like in a restaurant situation, they are on, in my opinion, and only because of these stupid legal tender laws that, by the way, snub the real legal tender, which is in the Constitution as being only silver and gold. So, they charge you a tax on that as if it were a profit, as if gold and silver was an investment. But no, it's just true money, and it should be utilized that way, and people should be allowed to use it, whether it's digital form or any other form. I mean, even the digital form that we have today, a credit card or Apple Pay or however, is done with the dollar. It's still essentially the dollar. And I'm saying, not only do I want to be able to use cash or credit or anything else, but I also don't want to have to be forced to use the dollar itself in any form. I want to be able to use gold and silver and make payments with that and exchange with that and be paid by that and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I'm saying. Okay.
As long as it is a voluntary exchange between two consenting adults, why should anybody stop us from engaging in that transaction? I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Well,
the other thing I find. I'm sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
Is because the government has monopolized money. It's
Right.
their fiat currency, and so now they get all butt hurt if somebody doesn't want to utilize their monopolized currency that they print off of a printing press. Well, okay, I get that, but I'm butthurt because I can't use something that's a true form of money that doesn't lose value whenever they continue to print more. Of course, that's another story, but I don't get into that anyway. Yeah, go ahead, Liam.
But the other thing that I find disgusting about all this, the social justice warriors always have to bring race and class into every damn thing that we have to deal with.
Oh.
So now,
yeah,
some of these businesses don't want to accept cash, and now they're saying, "Oh, it's discriminatory against poor people, or discriminatory against this one or that one." Oh, for crying out loud! Could we just have a discussion about something without it being an issue of race and class?
Yeah,
good.
And that is something that's been brought up. That's something I believe there was a law that was proposed this last year federally that requires. I thought it was requiring businesses to accept cash as well. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and check the story on that. But it was for the same reason Leon was talking about. Well, this could be discriminatory, to some groups, and stuff.
Yeah.
But, and it's just like, wow, I mean, you just can't have a conversation anymore about anything without it being somehow tied to race.
Yeah, well, the social justice warriors, also usually Democrats, are, it reminds me of the Mickey Mouse or Mighty Mouse theme song. Here I come to save the day. That means that Mighty Mouse is on his way. So here they are coming, those poor Black people that haven't established credit, or the young people who haven't had time. They can't make this transaction at Walmart. They can't. Their piggy bank is no longer an acceptable source of funding for their trip to Walmart to buy a candy bar. So they're going to have to just get a credit card, I guess. But anyway, exactly. I mean, it's that whole thing where they're the ones that can take care of us, and don't you?
They're gonna save us. They're gonna save us. They're gonna save us. That's what it is. These people, these losers are gonna save us. That's what's gonna happen.
They're flying in to turn our molehills into mountains for us. Save us from those molehills.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's funny too. I mean, I kind of have a little bit of mixed feelings about this. I mean, obviously, because of the government's mandate that we do all these transactions in dollars. I happen to have a lot of my money in the bank is in dollars. So, I mean, I would love for this to be voluntary. But on the other hand, then, I might wind up being stuck with all these green pieces of paper that nobody may decide to accept at some point. I don't know. So, who knows? But certainly, the voluntary aspect is. To me, that seems to be the key issue. Once you get government involved, it's not voluntary anymore. And I can't think of anything during this COVID crisis. We brought it up jokingly, but this concerns a lot of people, and they're shutting down businesses because they're saying that no risk is allowable. And then a business owner decides, well, okay, I'm going to cut down on my risk by not taking any more green pieces of paper. And oh my God,
this is horrible.
Racist.
You can't do that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yes. Oh, yeah. That is so perfect. Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh, the irony of it all.
Yes. The government could figure out, is telling us how to manage our risk. That is by taking no risk at all. But when we decide how to manage our own risk, that is a big crime.
Oh yeah,
okay?
Yeah. Now, if they had thought about it, then they'd be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But until they think about it, you just better stay in line and do what they're telling you to do. But
Know your place.
I thought something you brought up was kind of interesting too. You tied the Bible into this, and it going to a cashless society, and it made me wonder if the next credit card is going to be the Visa God card instead of the gold card. for every so many dollars you spend, you earn indulgences. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Visa.
You never know. I mean, they spoke. If you look in Revelations, they talk about the mark of the beast, which you'll need for all transactions. They'll either be in your forehead or on your finger or whatever, stuff like that. So now that you see, like, I just got this iPad, and to open my iPad, I could just tap my finger on one of the buttons, and it opens up. Oh, we lost him.
Oh yeah.
It opens.
Yeah.
It opens up.
References has angered the internet gods here. They've smited Tim.
I'm switching. I keep having the phone go off and on. I don't know what exactly is happening. So I'm back to my iPad here.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, as I was saying, as we move towards this cashless society, you make you wonder, are we getting this mark of this beast? Because I'm using my finger, and next thing you're going to be using our eyes, to identify myself and all these other things, So maybe the mark of the beast here is coming through. I don't know.
Well, there's another point I wanted to bring up too, and it's funny too. It just occurred to me, but they've kind of tried to. I guess heighten their fiat credibility by stamping God on the money as well. It's in God we trust. I know you don't trust us, but we've written down
God
here
God
we trust.
Exactly.
But there's another point to all this too, though, that I wanted to get into just before we get to the end here, and that's that. A lot of private types of currency, they innovate, and we haven't really innovated much with dollars. We're still kind of just like public schools, public education. We're stuck in the last century in how we deliver this stuff, and with government, we're kind of stuck with currency in the last century on how we're doing this stuff. But with credit cards and a lot of these other cashless things, those are private intervention or private innovations, excuse me. Yes. And they're figuring out better ways for us to do things, and one of those, it's kind of interesting. Visa has just announced that they are going to be giving rewards in Bitcoin coming up soon. That's yet another in God we trust currency. In math we trust currency. I'm not sure. You guys have any thoughts about that? The new innovation that Bitcoin is doing to give rewards in Bitcoin.
I mean, cryptocurrency is taking hold in our society. It haven't gotten to the level of cash transactions, obviously, but cryptocurrency is taking hold. Bitcoin is not the only one out there. There's XRP. There's a bunch of others that they are trying different things with and that kind of stuff. I think this move with Visa and Bitcoin, I think is going to be a solid thing that will eventually move us in the right direction in terms of where we have voluntary transactions without using dollars. I think that's a good thing because it will be person to person, you and I making a transaction, as long as we both agree that this transaction is beneficial, is mutually beneficial, it will be done, and we don't have to be using this quote unquote dollar as we have been using for the last 200, 300 years, whatever it is we've been using. But I think this is a good move. I think this is a good thing to happen. But the one thing I would say though, eventually I think the government is going to intervene in these cryptocurrencies and they're going to mess it all up. Watch and see. That's my prediction.
Well, so it looks like we're just about near the end of our show, and that's when we get to the Knucklehead Noise Patrol near the end, where we find something pretty silly that has been said by somebody in politics or the media. And this week, as well as probably many weeks in the future, Joe Biden
we're going to have
as we might. Yeah, he's our knucklehead of the week here. So, Joe Biden was recently in an interview with Kamala Harris and Jay Tapper of CNN. And Kamala Harris being his vice presidential, I guess his soon-to-be president, depending upon how you see things. I think he thinks she's about to be president, according to this quote. But he's talking about to Jay Tapper about how he's going to get along with Kamala during his presidency, given that the primaries were a little rocky between them. And so Joe Biden says, but all kidding aside, it's a matter of the thing. We are simpatico on our philosophy of government and simpatico on how we want to approach these issues that we're facing. And I don't have, and when we agree, it will be just like, so far, it has been just like when Barack and I did. It's in private. She'll say, I think we should do A, B, C, or D. And I will say, I like A, but I don't like C or B. And let's go, okay, but, and I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement, we have based on moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. Not only did he just sort of stammer and stumble through the whole thing, but then he said that if there's a disagreement, he'll be the one to resign.
He'll resign.
Yeah, could imagine that. It's not that Kamala will have to go, right? He will go. Yeah. You know what I have to say about all this? I can't believe that this man is going to assume the presidency on January 20th. I can't believe it. That's all. God.
Yeah, I don't know. What can we say? I mean, that's essentially what he said. The guy, he's just not there.
This guy is on serious cognitive decline. There's no doubt about it. This man stood in his basement for the last 6 months, and this is the man we're gonna put in the presidency, the most powerful job in the world. Are you guys serious? Oh my God!
I would like to be a fly on the wall during Barack's time there, and observe even one time that Joe Biden had a disagreement with anything from Barack Obama on anything. Let me prove that. Let me
yes.
When did he disagree with Barack Obama? Like never. That's when.
Well, we'll have to prove that in another episode. We're just about to the end of our show, and I'd like to say if you have any comments about the show, or if you would like to send any information to us about how you may have been affected by COVID lockdowns or peaceful protesters and your business may have been impacted, we'd love to hear more. Mostly people. We'd love to hear about that. Send those comments to Knuckleheads at libertariancounterpoint.com. And we will look at that. And, if you have something about an experience, we may even have you on the show in the future. And also, too, if you're considering being a Cal exiter as well, we've interviewed a few people who are leaving California, and we'd love to hear more about that as well. But if you can catch more of our shows on libertariancounterpoint.com or Facebook at Libertarian Counterpoint, and we'll see you